Hey friends, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I am bringing you my September TBR. Just like last month, I'm going to be picking out of the mug of prompts, and we'll see. I updated my TBR cart a little bit. I added some new books, took away a couple that I wasn't really feeling anymore at the moment because I'm in a fantasy kick. I know. I was in a historical romance. Like, I was loving the historical romance. But then I listened to The Drawing of Three by Stephen King, and now I just want to listen and read fantasy. I am filming this a little bit early. It is the middle of August though. We still have like over a week of August, but I start school next Monday. I won't really have time to film next Monday, and that was going to be when I filmed this video. So we're going to film it right now, and we're not going to complain. We're just going to do it. So I've got my mug, and let's do this. I'm going to do 6 again. I didn't finish my TBR last month. I'm not even going to pretend like I did. I read about 2.5 of the books and made a little bit of progress on another one. So, out of 6, I actively tried to read 4. I might start another one or finish another one before I get to the end of the month. I don't plan on it necessarily, but we will see what I feel this next week. So here we go. Okay, this is poll number 1 for September for my TBR. Let's do this one. A Stephen King book. I read a lot of Stephen King this month. I read part of Billy Summers. I read a little bit of Mr. Mercedes. I read The Drawing of Three and The Wastelands. So if I finish The Wastelands this week, this will be used for the 4th Dark Tower book. I think it's The Wizard in Glass, or Wizard of Glass, or something like that. It's this one. I'm not sure what this one's about. I still don't really know what The Wastelands is about, but the overall summary of the Dark Tower series is a man named Roland. He is the last gunslinger of this universe. It's not our current time and place. So he's the last gunslinger, and his big goal is to reach the Dark Tower, which is this building that he's heard of since he was in school. He's basically given up friends' lives to get to this tower. He's done a lot of things that could be questionable to a lot of people to get to the tower, and the first book is just following him, finding somebody who can help him get to the tower and learn more about the tower. I'm going to do the 4th book of the Dark Tower series. September draw number 2. Backlist read of a well-liked author. Most of the books on my cart are new to me authors, so I guess I'm going to just have to go with one that I've read one of the authors or one of their books before. So I know this isn't necessarily backlist, but it is one that I haven't yet read by this author. I think this came out 3 years ago. So this is Hummingbird Salamander by Jeff Vandermeer. I love Jeff Vandermeer. I've read the first 4 of the Ambergris trilogy is called City of Saints and Madmen. And then I read Annihilation, which was the Southern Reach trilogy. And then I've also read Venus Underground. So I've read 3 of his books already. I really love him. I don't know if any of them have necessarily been 5-star reads, but his worlds are always super, super intriguing, and I really love how he writes. It's hard science fiction, but it's also not so difficult that you can't understand exactly what he's saying. So that's book number 2. Draw number 3 for September is Reread a favorite book. So I don't have any rereads on this cart. I've read none of these. And I am going to pick a book that I'm in the middle of a reread because I'm doing it a little bit differently than just reading the book. So I'm going to choose A Court of Mist and Fury. I read the ACOTAR series for the first time in 2023 and binge read it in like 2.5 months. I'm actually on chapter 38 already of my reread, and I say it's a little bit different because I'm listening to the graphic audio of each of these and annotating with a full annotation guide. Like, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but I have all of these different things and I am annotating it heavily. So I only used one color for my first go through. This is my second. So that's where I am with that. So I will be reading or listening to the rest of this, I guess, and finishing my reread. Draw number 4. Read a book you know you will annotate. I love annotating. Like, annotating is one of my favorite things to do. I don't really know which book I would want to annotate out of these. I said I was in like what did I say? I said I was in a fantasy mood. However, none of my fantasies on here, like, I think there are definitely some that I would annotate because I've got like Babel on here and stuff, but I really don't want to read Babel right now. I'm in between Throne of Glass because I already started annotating it because I'm like 6 chapters in or whatever, and Shadow and Claw. So honestly, I think I'm gonna go with Shadow and Claw. This is a new book that it was tucked in there. So this is a new book that I just added to my TBR. This is technically 2 books in one. It's considered 2 volumes of a book. And the only reason I think I'm going to annotate it is because it is hard sci-fi. And I know that if I don't annotate it, I'm going to be very confused down the road. So, the first book is 260 pages. It's this much. So I think I'm going to go and read The Shadow of the Torturer as my want to annotate book. And if I get into it and really enjoy it, I might read The Claw of the Conciliator as well, just so I can finish this whole book. But the only part that I'm putting on my TBR is The Shadow of the Torturer. And that is going to be my 4th book. Draw number 5. Read a book out of your comfort zone. And honestly, it's probably going to be a romance because I'm a dark romance girly. I don't really read fluffy romances ever. So I'm either going to choose Mysterious Society of Lady Scoundrels, Icebreaker, or Kingdom of the Wicked, because this is a YA fantasy and I don't normally read YA fantasies. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with this because it's getting into fall. It's getting into spooky vibe season. So for read a book out of my comfort zone, I'm going to go Kingdom of the Wicked, even though it's starting another series. But it's fine. And last but not least, so draw number 6 is read a book, talk book. Now, a lot of these are book talk books. However, I am in a mood right now. I'm in a fantasy mood. I am actually going to let myself choose. I'm going to put 2 books on here, and I'm going to let myself choose which one I pick as I'm reading next month, because I want to read both of these. They have similar vibes. They're both fantasy romances, and I know I want to read both. So those books are One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig and Serpent in the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I know I want to read both of these. I don't know which one I'm going to pick at this moment because they both sound really good. I have not given you anything on what any of these are about. I'll get back to that. So, I'm going to put both of these on there. And I'm going to choose which book out of these two that I read when the time comes. There's 6 books here, all of them fantasy or sci-fi. 5 fantasy books to choose from and 2 science fiction. So now that I have drawn all of these, I'm going to go through them real quick and refresh and explain a little bit what each of these are about. A Stephen King book. I already decided that I'm going to do the 4th Dark Tower book. I already told you what that was about. And then I had a TikTok book. So I have One Dark Window, which is a fantasy romance about Elspeth Spindle. She needs more than luck to stay safe in an eerie, mist-locked kingdom. She has a monster in her head called the Nightmare, and he protects her and keeps her secrets. She has this magic from an illness when she was young. Everybody got sick, and whoever got sick ended up with magic, and magic is outlawed. Her magic comes from the nightmare inside her head. So she's trying to save her kingdom. She meets the king's nephew, and they go on an adventure to find these cards, and these cards are, they're like all-powerful, kind of. They're the only way to save the kingdom. Find all of them, you have a very special power. Serpents in the Wings of Night was an adopted daughter of the vampire king, and she goes into the Kajari, which is a tournament for vampires, and she teams up with somebody. Out of My Comfort Zone, Kingdom of the Wicked. It is a YA fantasy about 2 sisters with a brutal murder. She falls in love with one of the princes of hell. This is about wrath, I'm pretty sure. I have this whole series. Intrigued by this. Then I had a book you know you'll annotate. I chose The Shadow of the Torturer by Gene Wolfe. This is the first volume of a 4-volume epic science fiction book. So there's 2 in this, and then there's another book that has 2, and then there's a 3rd book that just came out, I think, that has like a conclusion to the whole thing, which I'm intrigued by also. So this is the first volume. It's of Severian, and he's an apprentice to the Guild of Torturers, and he's exiled from the guild for showing mercy towards a victim, and that's a big no-no in that guild. So I know I'm going to read this, and I know I'm going to want to annotate it just because it's going to be confusing, because it's a hard science fiction. And then I have Hummingbird Salamander from Read, a backlist book from one of your favorite authors. And I love Jeff Vandermeer. He's a fantastic author. It's a really short little blurb, but it says, a brilliant speculative thriller of dark conspiracy, endangered species, and the possible end of all things. A security consultant receives an envelope with a key to a storage unit that holds a taxidermied hummingbird and clues leading her to a taxidermied salamander. There is a dead woman who left that note, and she was a reputed eco-terrorist and the daughter of an Argentine industrialist. So it is a speculative thriller. I did not know that. I thought this was going to be more of a science fiction. But it's kind of a science fiction, but also a thriller. Sounds good. Finally, reread one of your favorite books. Not my favorite in the series even, but I am in the middle of a reread, and I'm going to finish my reread. That is my plan for this book. I'm on chapter 38, page 362. So, that's my plan for this. So overall, this is my stack, and honestly, we're just going to call this the stack, because I think the 4th Stephen King, like the 4th in the Dark Tower series, is probably the length of one of the extra books that I have, plus the Shadow and Claw. So, here's the stack. It's kind of hefty, but I only have to read half of this. I only have to read half of the Shadow and Claw. I have to pick between One Dark Window and Serpents in the Wings of Night. I'll probably be able to get Wizard of Glass on audiobook from my library. And then Court of Mist and Fury, I only have to read like 300 pages, not even. So that is the stack. Stay tuned if you want to see what I actually read in September. Honestly, this pile is probably the most realistic of what I could read in September, like in a month of just drawing books. I honestly am most excited for this pile out of any other months that I've done this year. So yeah, stay tuned and remember to like and subscribe down below, especially if you want to see any vlogs that include these books. I know a lot of people have already read these books on YouTube, so a lot of these are going to be repeats on vlogs. However, I am new to all of these books besides A Court of Mist and Fury, so let me know. Have a good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and goodbye.